Okay. It says we're live. So, uh, awesome. Well, today, everyone, thank you for, first of all, for being with me, the Master Creators. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. And those of you who are with us live today, thanks for joining us. We want to have a conversation with each other and with you guys. So I'm streaming from my laptop, and then I'm going to check on my phone for comments. So we want to have this conversation. We want to know your comments as well, those of you who are viewing in our live stream. So feel free to type away and to ask us anything and to chime in what we're sharing so that we can really have a conversation together. Today's conversation was really born out of my desire to have healthy conversations on social media. I've been super discouraged by the way people treat each other on social media. The name calling, the accusations, the judgments, the blaming. It seems like people think just because it's social media, they can say anything they want. They don't have to take responsibility for what they've said. And even some people that I know personally have said some pretty harsh things. And it kind of like shocks my system a little bit, because the idea of what we need to do together right now is to come together. It's to come and create community. It's to collaborate. It's not to step into division and separation. And I see so much of the separation. And I consider my Facebook family to be fairly enlightened and intelligent people. And so I'm shocked every time. It just like hits my system every time I see a harsh comment to someone. And so one of the things we practice in the Creation Temple, and the people you see with me today are the Master Creators. One of the things we practice is listening with compassion and neutrality. We hold space for every opinion, every point of view, every perspective. And that's what I believe a strong community does. We come together in love and listen to each other. So I know, Julia, you wanted to share something about how you've learned how to do this and some experiences that you've had. So I'm going to turn the conversation over to you.
Well, hello, everybody. Oh, boy, have I wanted to do this, especially with everything that's been happening. All the conspiracy theories and everything is coming out now. And there's been so much opinions and bashing and calling people out. And so my thing is neutrality and getting to the 0 point where you're an observer and you're not a judger. And how I personally came to that 0 point is, what is it now, Susie? 4 years we've been together?
3.5.
3.5. So when I went into this group, I was love and light, and I really wanted to grow, and I had to do my shadow work, and it was all about that for me. But when we started these phone calls, there were other people, there was a lot more people, and there were some people that were just into the conspiracy stuff or this shadow stuff. And I was like, my body goes like this when I hear it, it contracts. So I don't feel the vibration I want to feel. And in that whole 3 years, I expressed my opinion on what was being shared in a nice way, not degrading the other person. Oh, that's interesting, but this is my take on it. Or I don't focus on that. I focus on myself. It's not what's outside, it's what's inside. And it took me a while, but also when I do my inner work, one of the biggest things I do when I release is I release judgments of other people, especially in the community, because I listen to not a lot of people. There's a very few people I listen to, but some of them have really changed and gotten very conspiracy and Q and all this. And while I understand there's a lot going on, I don't agree with everything. So there are things, that I kind of contract, but then I see the posts, people post Q, and then there's 80 people on there arguing with each other. And we have to understand how are we going to be unified if we're fighting with each other? So my personal, when I go in and ask these questions, well, is this true? Is that true? Higher self and prime source creator God says, don't engage, be in the neutral zone. It's unimportant. What's important is your shadow work and you're releasing and you're changing. And not to go into the savior program of, you know, politicians or group or organizations or galactics. And I believe in galactics. I have a lot of contact. And my own guides said to me when I asked for support, they're like, you can do this. I've changed the weather with my light language. There's so many things. So we want to empower ourselves, but the important thing is, you know, when I was told not to engage on Facebook at all, and don't, if someone has a if I disagree with somebody, it's their page. They have a right to print whatever they want. So you just pass it and you just go to the next, you know, so being in that neutrality as an observer and feeling I need to raise my vibration. So I fill myself with what I need to raise my vibration. But what is so wonderful is, and I love everybody that I'm on the call with, their family. They're like my brothers and sisters. And, you know, I'm so glad they allow me to express my opinion. And then I listen to them and I'm like, well, you know, that's cool, but I don't know. But that's me, you know, I love you. And let's clear the energy. So, you know, sometimes we have to clear the energy if it gets deep and we're on the dark side. But so I had to learn to embrace a little the dark, the shadow, and the light and put it to 0 point. And that's where we all should be and respect each other.
And
And
I want to just mention this also, Julia, because you mentioned the part about doing your inner work. The way we get to the place of 0 point of neutrality, the way we learn how to listen to someone is to heal ourselves. Because what happens when we hear something we don't like or we don't agree with, we're triggered. And as long as you're triggered, you have decreased your ability to hold space for somebody else. But when you heal your wounds, those triggers go away. And then it's like, she can say whatever she wants. It doesn't matter because it's not about me. So I wanted to highlight that piece about doing your inner work, because that's what we do in the Creation Temple, and that's what you have done in your own personal life. That's what all of us on the call have done. We've all been doing our inner work, and that's why we can come together in this sacred container of the Creation Temple and be a family like this, because we are all different. So who else here, Roland or Alyssa, do you want to share anything? Either a totally different topic or riffing off what Julia just said.
I find that whenever Julia speaks, she answers or talks about a lot of the questions that I have, which is really nice. So going off of that, the now is really, really what I am focusing on. 0 point, the now, and actually going deeper into that. So how time works, doesn't work linear in a line, works in a circle. So within your now, if you can get in the now, which for me is just bliss and happiness, and when you can find that, you can actually get into the circle of the now, and you can expand into all these other circles, and you can play with time, which is really fun. So when you can really get into the now, you can expand time. And then if you notice, if you're in fear or whatever, I think time goes faster sometimes, but whatever, you can expand in the now. And yeah, it's just nice to hear the diversity and know that I'm never being judged, and to have a really safe place to talk about all these things, especially right now. And I agree, it's so important for us to come together. And we're not coming together if we're fighting. But in the grand scheme of things, we really are, because everybody is being allowed to express themselves, not suppress themselves. If we're all suppressing ourselves, we're not growing. So maybe that is a way. But I think there's a gentle and graceful way to go about that. And I think, oh, I know this is what this offers for me. And I love all of you guys. So yeah, it's really nice.
Alyssa, thank you. Can you share with us how to get more into the now? Because I get the concept. I think we all understand what you're getting at, but how do we actually bring ourselves to the moment?
Well, what I do, for instance, right now, I open my window because my favorite sound are the peepers and the crickets, and they're out. So what I do is I focus on that sound, and I'll even in the beginning I'll start to remind myself. I'll just say now, 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 and allow myself to feel. If I'm taking a shower, I'll allow myself to feel the water and listen to the music that I'm listening to stop myself from going forward or backwards. Because a lot of the times, I speak for myself, I would be either thinking of the future, what's going to happen, or, oh, the past. Oh, I can't believe that's happened. I can't believe that's happened. But right in the middle is C. So from A to B, but we have C in the middle because it all goes back to the piano, I think. And so if you can get yourself right in middle C, a little bit above it, you can you can just do anything you want. Really, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, and that comes from that bliss state, that total um, just purity of being with your essence. And it's easier. It takes a lot of practice, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it, because I'll never be, but I am trying to perfect that, and it does take practice, but gentle practice, I think. I know.
So I think I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm hearing you say that you presence yourself to sensation. Maybe it's an auditory sensation, the bird singing, or maybe it's a physical sensation, something you're feeling in your body, but you bring your presence to what's happening right this moment.
And the breath is the most important thing for me.
Perfect.
So yeah, with all those things combined, yes.
So this is a great practice. When you write something on social media, and or when you are commenting on somebody else's post, to bring yourself into the present moment, or when you're reading something that someone else wrote on your post, or you're reading another post on social media, to bring your breath, to bring your presence into the moment. And it will help to ease some of the angst. Because, look, if you want to leave social media, that's totally fine. I personally feel really called to be here, but I want to be here in a way that's uplifting, that's not divisive. And one of the things that's been happening for me personally is I've been posting some edgier content, things that are, look like conspiracy theory, perhaps. And some people love it, and some people hate it, and maybe some people are neutral. But I'm noticing that maybe it's more divisive than it is unifying. And that's never my intent. Yes, I want people to explore. I want people to research. I want people to have an open mind, but I can't choose that for them. And so some of the things I've been posting lately, it seems like it's causing a lot of division. And so I'm reevaluating, like, do I want to keep posting that kind of thing? Because it seems to be going the opposite way than what I intended it to do. And so I'm really curious, also those of you watching, share with us your perspective on that. Is it a great idea to post polarizing things? Is it something, we should stay away from? I'd love to hear your perspective. Roland, we haven't heard from you yet. Is there anything you want to share at this point?
Well, I don't know, I'm not a good talker anyway, but I joined the group because I had a special experience when I'm taking pictures from the moon. Otherwise, I'm not too sensible when you see like Julia, Elisa with meditation. It takes for me maybe half an hour before I really relax with my body. Yeah, but the other thing is to have experience or see other people that are more sensitive where what's going on more. And even with the differences, I do it that way. I listen to the stuff or read to some stuff, just take it in, don't bother. And if you get maybe from some other side some confirmation or the same thing again, then maybe you start thinking about that. Is it possible or stuff like that? Yeah. So, and the other thing from the group, when we do our channelings, I get more insight, like in myself too, and even with my dreams, what the meanings are. That helps me quite a bit too. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I want to give a shout out to Roland because he has demonstrated for us just total love and acceptance for everyone. And, you know, whatever conversation we're having, he's just steady on, you know, he's not rocked from center. And like he was mentioning, getting to know some of the more sensitive people, that would be, he'd be talking about me and some of the other ones in the group. If they want to self-identify, that's fine. But for us being more sensitive, there's a little bit different work that we need to do to stay centered and balanced. And it's been so wonderful to have someone like Roland in the group because he's just always steady on. He's always in joy. His inner child always out to play. And that's so refreshing. And Roland, I hope it's okay that I'm speaking about you in this way. It's been such a beautiful addition to the group because he just holds this wonderful space for everyone to express however they need to. And that's such a blessing. He's been such a beautiful example for that.
Yeah, I like to go out into nature. A couple of days ago, I saw an otter taking some pictures, and normally in summertime, I'm getting really close to bears. So I take some pictures, and whatever I see, there are deer, moose, birds, and so on. That's my relaxation, except watching some funny movies and other stuff, listening to music, reading books.
And it's such a great example of how we all have different ways of staying balanced, and we all have different ways of self-care. Roland just shared some of his. We have some comments here that I'd like to share. So Roger Metz says, we were talking about being in the present moment. And he says, to bring in presence, I bring in more awareness. So I turn my vision from tunnel to panoramic. I'll tune into other senses. This struck me as interesting because I would have described it in the very opposite way. I would have described it as, you know, maybe shutting out all of the things around and just tuning into my heart and my soul. And that's the way because that's how I bring myself into presence. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. We all have different wiring. We all have different constitutions and ways that our physical human bodies are set up. And so we all do things differently. The way I bring myself to presence is totally different than how Roger does it. And that's fabulous. That's the spice of life. And I love that diversity, as Alyssa was saying. Matt says, and this is such a great comment, it is tempting to leave Facebook discussions when it tends to be very negative and you are afraid to blend yourself with those dark mentalities. But when you think about it, it's the same people you accept when they are positive and accepting of light visions. So for me, what I hear him saying is the same people, we all have light and dark. The same people that we love when they're full of light are this, you know, they're the same people, even if they're talking about something darker. And this is kind of the issue with the conspiracy theory thing. I just filmed my latest episode of Sedona Woo and Taboo, and it was about conspiracy theories. And one of the things we were talking about in that filming was, you know, things get dark in some of these theories. Things get dark. But it's our ability to be with both the darkness and the light that makes a difference. For example, for myself, I've done the inner work to get myself to the point where I have no problem being with the dark frequency. I don't like it. It's not, it's not my thing. It's not where I come from, whatever. But if someone is talking about heavier things, I'm usually okay with it, because either I don't make it my reality, or like I'm just accepting of all frequency. And so I would love for people on social media to be able to get to that point where we can share in that way. Like, hey, I had this heavy experience. Can someone hold space for me through that? Normally that's something that maybe you would take into your therapy session or into your, spiritual guidance session or something like that. But why not? Why not be able to do that on social media? And that's what my profile is about. But people aren't used to, I don't think people are used to communicating in that way on social media. So they don't always get that that's what I'm doing. Do you guys have any thoughts on that you want to share?
I think that's a great idea to be able to do that. And slowly, I think maybe that will happen, hopefully. And people maybe will start to begin to trust themselves a little more, so it's not so defensive or offensive. And it's just, this is what I'm feeling right now. And if people don't like it, then don't look, if it's not resonating with you, then don't look. You know what I mean?
Totally. I'm always just, again, that shock factor when someone makes a negative comment on something that I've posted. I'm like, if you don't like it, scroll by. It's like this addiction people have to, I don't know, I have this, it's really funny. I have this one woman who only posts on things that are close to conspiracy theory or are conspiracy theory. She will only post on controversial posts. And I post some amazing things on Facebook. And I'm like, where are you on these posts? It cracks me up. Okay, we have another really great comment here that I'll read. This is from Stephanie, and she says, and she's referencing commenting on posts. I really try not to. There are times I feel a bit in the moment, and I do. But like you say, we're still in duality strongly right now, and I just don't have the energy to even see people triggered by some of my posts of what I believe, finding that people are too much in fear to engage in different ideas. And I wanted to highlight that comment because that's okay. Give yourself permission to be how you want to be on social media. Again, I'm having this conversation because I would like to be able to have these open-hearted conversations, but I also acknowledge that not everyone's in that space. Not everyone wants to do that. So if you don't want to, post things or comment on things, that's totally fine. So thank you, Stephanie, for that. And then Robert Matt says, negative topics might be triggers in themselves and invites us to move into more compassion. And I couldn't agree more. Okay, so where are we at? Alyssa or Julia or Roland, either of you want to share anything else? Go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, what I'm led to share, what triggers me is the truth factor with these conspiracy. Now, yeah, I understand everything that's going on behind the scenes. My thing is, there's so much going on behind the scenes to create a better world. There are arrests going on, there are things going on, but I don't feel that, just as they're not on the regular media, I don't think they're posting a few weeks ahead of time who they're arresting because they have plenty of time to. I'm just letting people know, like, to just use, your heart, your common sense, and like, there's so much going on behind the scenes and we don't know. So when you hear things from whether it's Q or Cobra or whatever it is, to just use your discernment. And also when they call out a whole group of people as being bad, like let's say all the Democrats are bad, because that seems to be the thing, you know, or, you know, all these different groups, everybody's good and bad, everybody's dark and light, and everybody's doing what they need to do to bring the heaven on earth, even if it's the dark side. So there's no group that's all bad. You know, that's the first thing I got internally, which is my filter for what's true and what's not true. And I'm not saying everything Q says is wrong. I'm not. I know there's a lot that's going on. I'm just saying, what is the truth, and who's the cabal? This one's the cabal, that one's, how do you know? You don't know. It's like we have no idea who's going to be called out. We have no idea. Believe me, they're not announcing it ahead of time, who's bad and who's, you know, they want these people. So it's like, just, I think that's my thing, is just to, you know, it's some common sense. And as an empath, I feel the energy. So when I see a post and there's a picture of a movie star and they're wasting their time by going into every detail of the picture, what they're wearing, that's not where I want to put my energy. I have, you know, I want to put it into my self-worth. But you know, when I look at that, immediately I get the, you know, just, no, that's not true to me. It's not true to me. And so I go with my feeling, like I know they doctored it or whatever. And there could be some photos that are truth, but that's not where I put my energy. You know, I put my energy in the solution to the problem, not the problem. So, so anyway, that's just me. That's Mama Julie just putting that out there, to use your discernment, your heart, and if you're an empath, you can feel into it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Julia. And you said something at the very end there. My mind just went blank. What did you say at the very end about before using your discernment?
Being an empath,
No.
feeling into it, use your head, your heart.
It might be gone. It's really good.
What you put your focus on is where your vibration goes. And you want to keep it up, especially now.
Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. It's about where we put our focus. And I recently was part of a Facebook thread where a woman had posted, you know, if everyone who was into these conspiracy theories would put their energy into solutions instead of all this conspiracy theory, how we, you know, be making different progress on the planet. And then someone else posted, yes, and we also need to know what we're looking at. If we want to create a solution that's going to work, we have to know what we're dealing with. And I thought that was a really valid point. So for me, there's a balance. Like, yes, there is dark stuff happening and I'm aware of that. And there's also light stuff happening and I'm aware of that. And yes, where am I going to put my focus? But it doesn't mean that I can't be educated about the dark stuff that's happening, because then I know what I'm working with. And I think a lot of people have the fear around this. I was saying this a little earlier. A lot of people have the fear around looking at the dark stuff because it's uncomfortable. And some of it's super dark. Like, it's not something that we, you know, as a collective energy even are ready to grapple with, or ready to see or deal with. But for those who are ready, I would invite you to be, how do I want to say it, to be open to seeing it so that we have a clear picture of what's going on, so that we can move into creation mode and solution mode and collaborating together for a new world. And just for the record, that is happening. And this is one of those behind the scenes thing. This is not something that you are seeing much about on mainstream news. Hopefully that will come out more and more. But I have a friend who's an insider. She has a relationship with the white hats. She is a white hat. And so what they're doing behind the scenes, we don't get to see that yet. But it's happening and things are changing. It's so, so good and it's so positive. And yeah, so I could just go on a rant about that because it's so amazing what's happening. But as we come into creating solutions, we need to the degree that we're ready, be educated about what's happening behind the scenes. Does anyone want to agree or disagree with that? Go ahead.
So yeah, I actually feel that if it makes you uncomfortable, then don't even engage with it. Sometimes I would think, well, this is truth. I have to know. And to a degree, yeah, I do agree with that. But right now, where I am right now is just going with whatever makes you feel comfortable and happy. And for me, I know right now what's happening is absolutely beautiful, and it's unparalleled, and it's
Okay, Alyssa froze. While she's frozen, I'll just say this is where you really need to know yourself. This is where you really need to know where you're at in the process. Like, hey, I can handle going down the rabbit hole a little bit, or I can handle going down all the way, or you know what, this stuff freaks me out. I can't even. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to engage in with it in any way. And wherever you're at is okay, but know yourself, know where you're at, and that will be tremendously helpful as you figure out what kinds of content you want to engage with. All right, she's still frozen. Bummer. And Julia or Roland, anything you want to share? Oh wait, is she back? You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were frozen. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I just think this is wonderful, everything that's happening, because I'm looking at it from my perspective, one of my perspectives, as this is going to be heaven on earth. This is what we've been waiting for, and what I personally have written about years and years ago. I was like, what am I writing about? The purification phase? I mean, I have all these papers, and they would always say to me, this isn't the time right now to read them. But I would look back at them now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And what one of them said was, your brothers and sisters are going to be very confused. And this is when you, the ground crew, the boots on the ground, you know who you are and why you came here. This is your time to stabilize the energy and to get them into a love frequency. However you might do that. You can't really force it upon anybody, but just like leading by example, just raise their frequency. And as much as you can, try to pull people out of fear, because you can't drag anybody to do anything, but you just kind of give them that, here, this. And then if they want to come to it, they will. But like like you guys said, everybody has a part. I was shown once a vision. I think, it was Metatron, and everybody was dressed up in all these different costumes. Like I was dressed up as a fairy or whatever. Just somebody was the Hamburglar, and I was watching all these people, and like bad, good people, and I was told that everybody is the same. Every living thing is the same. And then it would zoom into like a blade of grass, and I could see the grass breathing. I told you guys this. And it just went, it was micro and macro and back to, whoa, we are all one, and we are all we're playing roles that we came here to play, because I think a lot of it is predetermined, but then it's also, we have free will. So it's that beautiful balance. And so what's happening right now is just this, it's just balancing itself out. And Mother Earth she's coming back to her original pure state. And so, yeah, I would just say that I'm just trying to stay in the highest vibration possible.
Yeah, beautiful. And thank you for doing that, Alyssa. That's what we all really need to be doing right now, is our inner work and working with our frequencies to stay in the highest vibration possible. We have a comment here again from Roger. Roger just is like one of us. This is great. When things are uncomfortable, move into observer. Observe the situation and do a deep dive into self. What is alive? It is an invite to work through an old wound. To be in this heaven on earth, we need to do the shadow work. I mean, he just summarized the creation temple essentially. And then Matt's also above it said, creative solutions need sunlight and happiness, which, yeah, totally agree with that. What we need to be doing, in my opinion, right now, other than coming together, is doing that inner work and working with our frequency, working with the sunlight and the happiness. Thanks, Matt. And to be an observer, like Julia was saying with the neutrality, to observe what's happening. And that's kind of the game for me with Facebook right now, is just to observe what's happening when I post things, to observe people's responses and reactions. And, you know, if I'm triggered by something someone comments, then that's my inner work. Then I need to look at that and address that. But sometimes it's just like a laugh, like, oh, really? You think that? That's kind of funny, because that's not true at all, or whatever. It's a really fascinating game to play if you're, you know, on social media a lot. So does anyone else have anything we want to share with the group? Go ahead, Julia.
Okay, this is also in my head to get out, is the political thing. There's been a lot, I was really surprised. I mean, there's a lot of light workers that, you know, they worship Trump, and there's a lot of light workers that worship Bernie. And I say worship. And there are people that say you can't be on my page if you disagree with me, or if you don't vote for Bernie, you're not enlightened, or you're not a light worker. I see these posts, and you have to really read, or, you know, I'm a vegan, and if you're not a vegan, you're not ascending. And we have to really, these are really big. It's not just the conspiracies, you know, who's right and who's wrong, which things correct, which things not. It's also the politics, and it's the vegan, you know, everybody's on their journey, and everybody has different, you know, different part of their journey that they're going through. And you have to, I know I have to allow the person to go through their journey and not judge them. So we all go through steps. And part of that is accepting somebody the way they are, the way Prime Creator and Source accepts us, right where we need to be. And it doesn't matter who we vote for, because we're the ones we are looking for. It doesn't matter who's there. And so just for people to really understand that, to open their hearts, you know, when somebody, you know, and that's a big thing. I understand people, you know, it's very polarized right now, but we're all in the light. We all want heaven on earth, and we all have different ways that we want this to manifest. And it may be a politician that we're with, or a group, or whatever. But to be non-judgmental to the stage a person is in, and realize that we're all God in human form, and we're all love, and we're all the shadow. And even when things really come down and people get arrested, or people are being called out and they're there, to not be judgmental towards them, because that's the role they chose, to be the shadow before they came on this earth. And the French Revolution is a big one. Look at that. They got rid of the royalty, but then they started chopping their heads off. So they become just like the person that they're trying to get rid of. So we want to keep the light, create our heaven and earth, you know, in our minds, our intention, our verbal intention, in our minds and our heart, what's the world we want to live in? Because now is the time. And so that's my other soapbox speech.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Julia. That was so beautiful. That's so, so important. I can't tell you how many posts I see like that. If you're this or that, I'll unfriend you. If you do this, I'll block you. And it's just, look, social media is crazy. So you can, for your own sanity, if you need to do that, that's fine. It's just not my approach, because for me, that feels like a lot of division. And I want to have friends actually that disagree with me or that don't think exactly like me, because that's how I learn and grow. If everyone in this creation temple was the same, if we thought exactly the same, if we were all had the same sensitivities, we would be bored. We wouldn't still be meeting together. It's the same for me on social media. And that's part of the reason why I enjoy social media, is because there are so many different opinions and perspectives, and I get to learn from that. I get to grow from that. And that's always my invitation when you come to my profile. Let's learn and grow with each other. Let's express different opinions and different viewpoints. And we can do that in a way that is, loving and compassionate towards each other. It doesn't have to be, well, I'm right and you're wrong, and all the stuff that people have been doing on social media. So Julia, I really appreciate you bringing that into the conversation, because that is massive, and it's indicative also of our larger society. We've gotten so encapsulated in our own little worlds that it's easier and easier to block people out of your life. Even I've seen it even in my own circle of friends. There's one person who, if someone is too triggering, they'll just cut that person out of their life. And it's like, oh, you're not going to have any friends left if you keep doing that. And I don't understand it for myself. I just think, like, we need to have, and I say this as a super sensitive person, we need to have thicker skin and, learn how to be with opposing viewpoints and people who disagree with us and people who have other opinions and perspectives. That's what makes the world amazing and beautiful. So yeah, thank you again, Julia, for bringing that into the conversation. I'm just gonna see. Okay, Roger says, those who are adamant about another's failure to show up in a specific way are stuck in safe story dynamics. Lots of dense fear happening. We are all divine beings. Oh, wow, that could be a big conversation, Roger. Stuck in safe story dynamics. Yeah, what I take from that is, if we're not feeling safe with life in general, we're going to have a hard time with oppositional viewpoints and people who have different opinions, because it's going to be such a trigger, if we're just overall not feeling safe in life. And I can say that from a perspective of how I used to feel in life, and noticing where I still sometimes feel it. But when someone would say something and I would be triggered, there would definitely be a feeling of not feeling safe underneath everything. I may not have known that was what was going on in the moment. I may not have realized that I wasn't feeling safe, but that was underneath everything. And right now is a time on the planet where people are not, in general, I'm making a huge generalization, I'm aware, the collective energy is not feeling safe. And that's reasonable because of what's happening, the amount of change and the speed at which the change is occurring. It's reasonable that people in the collective are not feeling safe. The reason I feel safe is because I know what's going on in the background, the dark and the light, and I'm okay with both. And I'm surrendered. So this is the benefit of doing your inner work. You get to feel safe in the middle of chaos. For the most part, I've been the eye in the hurricane throughout this whole experience so far. I'm not saying that to be boastful, but just as a representation of what happens when you do your inner work. You get to feel, it's okay. It's okay what's happening because we know that it's leading to greater change. So Roland or Alyssa or Julie, anything you want to say to that? Go ahead, Roland.
I can say what Julia said in a different way. As I say, in the 3D, life is like a movie. So we have to play our roles. And yeah, at the source or inside or the higher self, we are part of the source or God, whatever you say. And it's one of the channelings what Prime Creator mentioned. Our higher self is working and doing stuff in other dimensions too. So the people maybe here now that have a negative role, they do something positive, something else, somewhere else. Yeah? It's only just a part what they play here. At the end, and even with now the negativity, what it was said, it has to come out now before, as a change, before that ascension comes.
Go ahead, Julia.
I have one last thing that I wanted to share because it's a download that I got. So I was a little, I had my moments. I was very upset. I think Monday morning, everything started to affect me. And I thought we were going to have the Ease and Grace timeline. What's going on? And Source just said, my higher self just said, this is the Ease and Grace timeline. We're in the Ease and Grace timeline. And I just like the amount of people that are passing away as opposed to the whole vibration, the whole population. We're still able to get food. We're in our homes. Everybody's posting these videos of them dancing with their family. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. There could have been so many people. It could have been like the Middle Ages with the Black Plague. It could have been where we had no resources, but that's not the time. In order to ascend, we can't go in that mode anymore. We can't go into survival mode. We're just going into within mode. It's our three days of darkness or whatever it is within. We're doing our shadow work, and we're the dark night of the soul for the rest of humanity, and then they're going to come out of it. So this was the Ease and Grace timeline. Thank you, Prime Creator. We did it, people.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm totally putting Julie on the spot here. We haven't talked about this before, but I'm wondering if she will end with some light language for us, healing for the collective energy. Are you willing to do that, Julia? Okay, before you do that, I just want to say a few words, and then we'll end with that so that people can just like leave on that bliss note. If you've enjoyed this conversation and you want to be part of the Creation Temple group, go to creationtemple.com and you can see the different levels of subscription there. And I want to say also that right now what is happening is we are moving into the photon belt, which means that the frequency of planet Earth is increasing. It means that the frequency in the collective energy is increasing. It means that the frequency in the solar system is increasing. So we can't help but move into the light. That is what is happening, and on many layers and levels of reality. So I don't necessarily like to use this language, but the light is winning, because it's not, yes, there's a spiritual war going on, but beyond all of that, it's not even a war, it's not even a battle, because we're just moving into the light. That's what's happening. And so the vibration that the dark has been using to exert their power is no longer going to have power. It's not going to be able to coexist with those higher frequencies. So what's happening right now amidst the chaos, even though it feels difficult and challenging sometimes, as we're moving into this really amazing vibrational place. And it's beautiful and it's uplifting. It is our heaven on earth. It's what we came to this planet for. It's why we're here right now. It's very auspicious and special that we get to be here on the planet right now. This is a very amazing and beautiful time. So I invite you to remember that when things start to feel heavy, when you're looking at the conspiracy theories and you start to feel fear, when your toilet paper roll runs out and you have to go to the grocery store and there's no more on the shelf. I always joke about the toilet paper thing. But seriously, if the energy starts to feel heavy for you, remember, we are moving into this vast illumination where nothing can be hidden, and that is a good thing. Transparency is heaven on earth. So with that said, I will hand the floor over to Julia and allow her to bless us with a beautiful light language. Thank you.
This is a light language blessing for all of you that are listening now in the future. I'm going to send, light language has codes. So I'm going to send you the codes for peace, prosperity, and heaven on earth, raising your vibration. Osana mahi kaya namashi shi koyo so sonamaki. Okunamashi shi shi kiyo so sonamahia. Ikini amakai osonamakai. Okunamashira sonamakia. Okunamashia kanamasia kaya namakai. Okusonamashi ki sanama kai okunamakai I kasana ma shishishikai okuso so sonamashi shishakyo so ikinamakai okusonamashi shi ikira so kanamahala mashir kosonamaki okushonamakai hiya Okonomashira, okonoma ikinama, usoro koyanamashira. Thank you. Bless you.